Sabdaveda, Chantas and Poetry Manasi Adak. Shuklamara. Let's start with this sloka as a sample to see how 8 and its harmonics are integrated with poetry. In this sloka there are 4 lines. The line is called pada, and pada means feet in Sanskrit, and each line has 8 Sanskrit aksharas. Only vowels and vowels with consonants imposed on them should be counted, and pure consonants are not part of the count. This is usually written in 2 lines as shown in English. This is the most popular way of creating the sloka or poem in most of the Indian languages. This meter resonates as 32 aksharas in 4 padas. You may want to correlate this with 1 3 to 2, where the last 2 stands for your feet. So feet pada measures 1/4 th of the overall length of the subtle body, 8 units, and 4 padas create the full-blown subtle body. So such a constructed poem is a throbbing and vibrating energy body or a living organism, and hence carries the power of the words it contains. If all the padas have equal meter, say 8 units, then it is called samadhyarata, and if all are different it is called visamadhyarata, not equal. This 8 and 32 is the same as Adhyatala in Carnatic music and Ashtatala in sculpture. Can you make the connection now? In Sanskrit this meter is called as chantas, and in Tamil it is called chantam. Chantas is also one of the 4 important Vendigas and is called as the feet of the Vedas. Let me ask you as to which language the Vedas are available in its primordial form. The most popular and incorrect answer is Sanskrit. This is the level of awareness we have. Let's quickly look at these important points about Vedas, and I shall correlate this with our topic of discussion. Unlike other faiths, Hindus don't attribute the Vedas as word of God or given by some prophet. We consider Vedas as the breath of God, Nishwasadam, and not the word, which means Vedas are not created by God, but the breath. If there is no breath, that person would not live, and hence it is associated with the very presence of God. Vedas are also Atarashaya, which means it is not created by man, and Anati, that does not have a beginning. But you can ignore them, stating these are blind beliefs. Let's look at how this correlated with the science. Vedas are created by Pranava, and these should be considered as the harmonics of the primordial vibration and nothing more. So if it is pure vibration, then the which language it is written? Sounds stupid, isn't? If it's pure vibration, it has to be expressed in hertz or wavelength equivalent in ancient India. This is what chantas or meter is all about. This measures pure vibration, and anyone capable of tuning themselves to those frequencies have seen the Vedas and not created them. Hence all our rishis are mantradrishtas and not kartas. Difference between Vedas and poetry. Vedas contains both poetic verses, Padya, and prose Gayana. All the poetic verses are called chantas, and it complies with the rule as stated above. The difference between normal poetry and Vedas are, Vedas contain tonal variations, high pitch and low pitch, apart from the time, space variations, but in poetry there are no tonal variations. What has tonal variations and are not part of Vedas are called slokas. So Vedas are both in Padya and Gayana. What is in Padya is called chantas, and it has tonal variations in addition to the time-space variations. What has tonal variations but not part of Vedas is called as slokas. What does not have tonal variation but comply with the chantas rules are called poetry, harmonics, and types in chantas. We saw every line to have 8 matras/units/aksharas. There are variations, and these are the harmonics available. Gayatri. This is a very special chantas with a mantra where instead of 4 padas, there are only 3 padas, and hence it is called Tripada Gayatri. Each pada has 8 aksharas and hence 24 aksharas in Gayatri mantra. This is also the only chantas where a mantra is named after the chantas. Some people write it as 6 letters per line and 4 padas, which makes it 24. Ushnik chantas 7 letters per pada and 28 letters in all. Nushtub chantas. This is the fundamental and popular one with 8 matras per pada and 32 in all. Ramayana, the first poetry, was set in this meter. Brihadi chantas, 9 letters per pada and 36 letters in all. Pankti chantas, 10 letters per pada and 40 letters in all. Trishtub chantas, 11 letters per pada and 44 letters in all. The reason I have given all the above is to emphasize that nothing in our religious scriptures, literatures are without a grammar, order, form or proportion. Everything confirms to a mathematical proportion. Just like Vedas are the breath of God, Chandas is the breath of every mantra. The mantra is powerful only if it is recited to this meter. This is the reason some of the poem, even if it is not related to religion, stands the test of time. Also, if you recite a mantra even without knowing its meaning but as per the chantas, then the mantra shall bear its fruit. Would you believe that the first poetry in this universe started with a curse? Sage Valmiki saw a hunter who killed one of the birds of a pair which were in love. Sage got enraged and cursed the hunter. "Oh, hunter, may you not fare well any time as you killed one of pair of the crowned birds which were happily engaged in love." The other interesting connection I have this sloka with this series is that the Mamuni Mayan is the father of Queen Mandodari and father-in-law of Demon King Ravana. Once a sage realized that this curse also meant something very auspicious and referred to Ramavatar, he wrote Ramayana, which is the origin of poetry is known in the world, and it is called Adi Kavya. Valmiki Ramayana set in Anushtubh chantas, which is an octet. Alas, today, we are the fanatic fans of musicians who lacks morality and humility, who is ignorant of any divine proportion. Most of the music we hear is a cacophony and very mechanical. The words are indecipherable and lacks depth. The meaning of the song, if at all any, are just suggestive of sexual emotions and nothing else, and the dance movements we see are the gyrations of the hip with a great blend of fitness training exercises associated with it. This is not to negate some of the fine works we see even today, but to stress that we had such high science and taste which we seems to be losing/lost for no good reason other than ignorance. Architecture, the zenith of mathematics. Vastu. Just look back in history and see what stands the test of time. Even if a civilization is completely extinct, what stands beyond their time is the architecture of the civilization, which stands tall as a witness to the richness and maturity of the civilization. Intiram states that architecture space engineering is the zenith of the mathematics in. This space science is called as Vastu Sastra in India. There are few important concepts in Vastu science which I want to present as below. The whole world is made up of God's particle Vastu, and nothing else. It is this God's particle. You would note the Vastu which actually manifests itself as gross forms. You would note the Vastu subtle has become Vastu gross by addition of letter A, and this difference is reflected in our languages too. Hence the most important statement for this science is, this means, the subtle becomes gross, or energy becomes matter, or the space becomes earth. This is purely manifestation/evolution, and there is no creation. This has nothing to do with religion but supreme science, since it is all only one energy and it ever vibrates based on the harmonics and resonance. This vibration is called life, and everything in this world, be it a living being or a non-living being, as per our current definition, everything vibrates. The chair you sit and the vehicle you use are all living beings. Everything throbs with energy, and there is nothing which is a non-living being in this universe. Without this vibration there would not be any difference between iron and cotton. The difference between particles is essentially the molecular constitution, which is a function of its elements and its periodicity. This defines presence or absence of quality and sensory perceptions. This was put very nicely by poet Subramania Bharati as, the above concept is very profound, and this is called as science in our scriptures since it deals with knowledge of the space. By the same concept, when a subtle energy which is in the open space is converted to a gross form like the building, then this body/building vibrates based on the design specifications and the material used for that building. It does not matter what is the measure and what is the material used, it vibrates. When a structure is created with a divine proportion, then we breathe life into it. Thus the structure becomes a living organism. This is how some of the structure stands the test of time for thousands of years. Vastu is that science which aligns the vibration of the building with the vibration of the dweller in the building so that both the living organisms, the building and the dweller are in harmony and resonance. It sounds simple, but for this science we need to know includes the vibration pattern of the dweller, mathematics of space engineering, the knowledge of materials and its nature so that we can match it up to create harmony. This is precisely what Vastu as a science does. Again, it has nothing to do with religion. If you Google, you would find thousands of Vastu experts outside India who perceive and pursue this as a supreme spatial science. Let us look at the word Vas, which is the root. This means to shine, to grow bright, to bestow by shining upon, becoming light. Vas is its derivative, which means to perfume, an intoxicant, dwelling place, to assume the appearance of matter. This is the root for Srinivas, Srivasam. Vasam in Tamil means living. Most importantly, the ability to feel this subtle thing which cannot be touched is called Vasanadai. This spatial science includes knowledge on the following: the nature of soil and material, and the qualities of its energy. Though measures for spatial engineering that best resonates with the environment and the dweller. Note that the dwelling unit cannot be compatible to all the human beings universally. This varies with individual to individual, and hence the Vastu compatibility for the house is always seen for the housewife than the man, with the assumption that what is compatible to the lady of the house would suit all others. The accurate calculation of time and the position of astronomical bodies. The time engineering merges here with the space engineering. Consider the following to understand this. In some temples you would notice that the sunlight falls on the deity on a specific day/time of the day. This is not possible if the future position of astronomical bodies at a given time is calculated very accurately. When we build a house/temple, the inauguration ceremony should be conducted at a specific time. So it's just not space engineering but time engineering also. Oh, we see that the concept of space and time are not just a continuum but the measures of time and space merge and results in the same unit measure called tala. It is a tala in poetry, music, and the same measure is used in building and sculpture dimensions. Space is created because of the pulsation called time, and hence the unit time measure for pulsation and the unit space measure result of pulsation are one and the same. This means the pulsation causes proportional displacement or creation of space. It is the same concept used in meditation techniques. With pranayama, dharana and dhyana you control the pulsation and align with it. In samadhi you stop the pulsation and hence you are beyond time and space and you reach the luminescent state of resonant non-vibration. Hence I named this book as Time Equals Space. It sounds simple, but for this science we need to know includes the vibration pattern of the dweller, mathematic blank. We have seen that each subtle unit is represented in 8x8 energy grid and the gross unit is represented in a 9x9 energy grid. Mayan states that each module or pada within the 8x8/9x9 structure resonates with a specific energy. Based on space, time, light, and sound coordinates, the frequency of vibration has its unique position in the space/time continuum. This energy level of frequency of vibration is called a luminous body or Devata. This Devata has particular attributes based upon its position and qualities in the space/time continuum placement among the 64/81 subcubes or padas. Now what is evident here in this science is 8 and 5 merges, and so does space and time. Manifestation occurs in additive values of 8 and in 5 stages. You can note that the bindu point has become 4, then 12, then 20 and then 28. 4 plus 8 equals 12 plus 8 equals 20 plus 8 equals 28 with a total additive factor of 64. Manifestation occurs in sequences of 5 steps known as the Pentatic order. The mathematical calculation which gives form to consciousness/space/subtle matter is called ayati Gananam. We know that Ganam as the additive process. Dr. Jessica Marcy in her Fabric of Universe states that The subtle energy point in the center becomes the self-effulgent energy generator, pouring out waves of energy, becoming a self-spinning stabilized structure of 4 POTAS flash modules, then adding 8 units of energy to manifest the 4x4 structure of 16 units, or adding another 8 units of energy to manifest the 6x6 structure of 36 units, or module adds 8 more units culminating in 64 units or module strung concentrically around the bindu point or central generator. So a central point with 4 concentric square belts around. Each has its own frequency, vibration and energy characteristics, evolving into a 9x9 unit as a gross matter. While this knowledge is significant of itself, when these phenomena are viewed in light of material manifestation as built space and architecture, the significance becomes stunning and profound. So, to sum up this section, we have seen that how every inanimate thing in this universe is still a living being, and how with the spatial science we can pump throbbing energy into a building. This is the supreme science where time and space merges. This is the fourth sacred art we talked about, which is a manifestation of the visual form of OM. As you would have noticed, I have avoided talking about rituals and rules here, but focused on the concept and philosophy. When we talk about rituals, there are very many variations, and we get into an unnecessary argument that whether it is rational or superstitious. Since most of the arts have become commercialized, the person's qualification and his intentions are always questionable. The objective of this book is to highlight the scientific aspects of the universe in a small way, and emphasize that our culture is built on this science. Be it language or arts or religion, all are built on scientific facts. They all were nourished and nurtured in thousands of temples across India, which is the container and protector of this subtle science and energy. Let's see some more interesting aspects of this in the next section. Capturing the divine energy squares and circles. It is told that the sanctum of Lord Ranganatha's temple at Srirangam is circled from outside and square from inside. Why? Subtle energy is represented by 8x8 square grid, and the perimeter of the square is 4r, and the area of the square is r*r. When each grid length is 1 unit, then r equals 8, so perimeter is 32 and area of this square is 64. Gross energy is represented by 9x9 square grids, and with the same measurements perimeter is 36 and area of this square is 91. It has been an architect's dream to create and capture subtle energy in a gross structure. This is fundamental objective of spatial engineering. How do you go about to achieve this? It looks that they found that they would take the help of a circle either outside the square or inside the square to achieve this. Remember, almost every anchor has a square and a circle component in it. The measurements are so taken such that either the perimeter or the area of both the circle and the 8x8 square are matched. Most of the Hindu temples follow such rules to invoke the subtle energy in a gross structure like temple. This is one of the well-kept secrets, and this is the reason each and every temple is said to interact with your subtle body differently when you visit it. This is why Lord Ranganatha's sanctum in Srirangam temple is a circle from outside and square from inside. This secret is called as squaring a circle. This is all about to creating divine energies, and this is the science that is implemented in all the Hindu temples which are built as per the Shastra. You need just basic math knowledge and patience to understand this supreme secret, and I shall give below 2 techniques to match the area or the perimeter of the circle with that of the 8x8 square. Capturing the direction of subtle energy flow. The subtle divine energy flows is as per the diagram given below. It starts from the center and always flows clockwise. That is why Hindus always stick to clockwise flow of movements, be in their temples or anywhere else. This clockwise flow of movement is captured in the sacred symbol swastika. Here 1 is the source/mulam, 2 is column time 3 selam rhythm for column form 5 universal lamp. Heaven and Earth, Lord Nataraja and Lord Ranganatha. Let's stay with Lord Ranganatha and see the relationship between him and Lord Nataraja. Would you be surprised if one is the mirror image of the other? Look at the majestic picture of Lord Nataraja below. Wonder why this is always made in metal and not in wood or earth. In Panchabhuta space, air, fire, water, earth, metal is always associated with space and wood is associated with air. This system is reflected well in the Chinese system, and it was not any different in our Vastu system either. Since Lord Nataraja signifies Akasha Tattva, vent the rule, he is always made in metal, copper or gold or bronze or a mix of it. The statues which were ancient had a generous amount of gold, giving a luminescent look about the statues. The art and science of molding metals to create divine forms with precise proportion dates back to thousands of years in India, and the Western experts think that this is a recent phenomenon. This is a complete surprise to the Western world, since they cannot believe that such sophistication existed before. Mamuni Mayan states, Budmai H. Pragna Vastu Sayat means earth by virtue of being the very basic support of all things. This is the primal and dominant Vastu. Earth and space are manifestations of each other in the cyclical process of evolution. They both should always be considered to be in unison. This vibrant, energetic, manifest earth energy Prithvi Tattva is called as Vishnu. In Vastu Satra, the Vastu Purusha is Lord Vishnu, and understandably Vishnu is invoked as Vastu Purusha in Srirangam temple and offered the seat in the heart of Lord Ranganatha even today as ritual. Lord Ranganatha represents manifest earth energy, man the rule, and hence is always made out of seasoned earth only, and it should be properly painted too. He is never to be made of metal. This earth form does not support frequent mobility and symbolizes stability and immobility. This is the reason when Vibhishana kept the idol of Lord Ranganatha down at Srirangam, it could not be moved. The energy that is unavailable in every universal form is represented as Vishnu, and hence he is called as Antaryami. Once the subtle becomes grosser, the vibration is reduced, and the grossest form would not have any creative pulsation in it. It would still have the vibration based on its nature, which ensures that it retains the form and shape. But it does not have any creative pulsation, and it has reached the zenith of evolution. This zenith is characterized by Lord Ranganatha in the reclining pose. The creative pulsation space is the dance, and the zenith of manifestation is a reclining posture, earth. As we have seen, Lord Nataraja carries light in his left hand and sound in his right hand. Lord Ranganatha carries chakra representing light in the right hand and conch representing sound in the left hand. The principle that the primal substance space has manifested as the universe earth, and both of them are mirror images of each other, is reflected in both the images. In Chinese texts, the yang energy is associated with heaven and the yin as earth. Now associate the same heaven with Shiva, earth with Vishnu, and Tao with the gods particle, with some of the text below from Lao Tzu's Tao Te Ching. The nameless is the beginning of heaven and earth. The name is the mother of the 10,000 things, something mysteriously formed, born before heaven and earth, in the silence and the void, standing alone and unchanged, ever present and in motion. Perhaps it is the mother of 10,000 things. I do not know its name. Call it Tao. Tao follows what is natural. Man follows earth. Earth follows heaven. Heaven follows the Tao. The Tao that can be told is not the eternal Tao. The name that can be named is not the eternal name. Both the temples Chidambaram and Srirangam are south-facing temples. Lord Nataraja signifies Akasha Tattva, outer space, macrocosm, subtle unmanifest energy is the Vastu Purusha, is always in dancing pose, circumscribed in 8x8 square and made of metal. Lord Ranganatha signifies Prithvi Tattva, inner space, microcosm, manifest gross energy, is the Vastu Purusha is always in reclining pose, depicted in a circle or a 9x9 grip and made of earth. Lord Nataraja represents energy with matter and Lord Ranganath matter with energy. In the equation E equals mc2, Lord Nataraja represents E and Lord Ranganathan represents mc2. Both these temples are A must see and A periodic C types, and you would be amazed at the qualitative change in your mental state even if you don't pray inside the temple but spend some time sitting or walking in the premises of the temple. Both these temples are perfect symbols of ancient science codified for the benefit of the society and left for generations withstanding the test of time. Chidambaram and Srirangam should be ground zero for any lab that wants looks into the secrets of space and time, as they represent supreme science as much as they represent spirituality. We now see that science was the basis of our spiritual faith, unlike it being two completely different aspects today across the world. As a wise man said, Indians are the most ignorant about their rich past and scientific traditions. May we be blessed by the divine power to unravel unknown secrets about the nature. Temples and idol worship. Let us forget Hinduism, its symbols and names of God for the time being, and consider these aspects as pure science from a nanotechnologist and cosmologist called Mayan. We have been told that the universe is full of luminescent particles, and this particle manifests itself because of the primordial pulsation. We have had a sneak peek into the geometry and the mathematical proportion which is used in the creation of many things. We know that the universe rhythm conforms to a mathematical code to the extent that we can create divine energies in a temple based on that science. If time is pulsation of consciousness, and if it creates, sustains and destroys everything, then time is the architect sculpting the universe, and every object in this universe should be a sculpture of time, and this concept is very beautifully captured in Jagat Sarvaram Silpamovia, meaning the entire universe is nothing more than a shilpa/sculpture, and it latently conveys that time is the shilpi. If all the above things are right, then is it not right to say that man created the concept of God, or man can create divine energy around him? Let me sum up my thoughts as below. Sages and rishis were essentially scientists and understood the secret of nature very well. They were understandably masters in nanotechnology and cosmology. They knew that one thing with which they could understand the nature and science of all other things in this universe. This is obviously supported by the mathematical knowledge they had. As per Vedas, nothing is created by God, including the Vedas, but universe is the manifestation of God. They also understood that man is the most evolved of this manifestation. This is why they created all the God forms in the image of a man. Be it language, poetry, classical music, classical dance, sculpture and architecture, it was the manifestation of this divinity that was the underlying link. Sacred geometry and sacred proportions were used to generate the subtle energy that took us closer to divine. Hindu temples were created to capture all these aspects in one place, and which could sustain and grow for the benefit of mankind. Secret of nature, heard through the vibrations of Vedas, were codified as supreme science and weaved into a philosophy called Sanatana Dharma. Architecture of temples conformed to divine proportions and space. Time engineering was accurate to capture sunlight and moonlight at the same position for thousands of years. The design of the temple cleaned the subtle energies and points of the human body. Divine idol forms conformed to a mathematical proportion that invoked subtle energies within and around us. This is where the external forms were used to create energies internally to a human. This is the basis of idol worship. If it is scientific to create a form with divine energies based on mathematical proportion, then idol worship is the supreme proof for that science. This supreme mathematical law is called as nature's law, and the unfolding of that law is the karmic theory of cause and effect / law of karma. Poetry, classical music and classical dance are intimately linked to this Hindu temple culture. Adhyatala and octaves were used to create subtle energies in poetry using words, and the same talamana is used in classical music with rhythm and raga, in classical dance with light and sound, and in sculpture as a visual form. A Hindu temple is a divine and yogic representation of a human being, with the deity in the temple representing the god as indweller in humans and all beings. In a temple, the feet represent Rahagatira, the hands represent Pravikara, the abdomen represents Mandapa, the heart represents Antarala, and the crown of the head represents the sanctum sanctorum Garbhagriha. The temple is used as a reminder that our inner spiritual journey is through internal yoga to realize the indweller god. This analogy is shown through the representation of various chakras, namely Muladhara to Sahasrara in the body, to various locations in the temple. It may be of interest to know that the same harmonics of it are reflected in every other domain. For example, if you have been practicing pranayama, then your master would have asked you to practice breathing based on some counts. The most popular counts are 6 inhale, 3 exhale, or 7 inhale, 2 exhale. If you notice this count 9, this cleans up your gross body. Advanced pranayama students may be asked to stick to 1 inhale, 4 retain, 2 exhale, to retain outside, or as a variation 1-4 to 1 or. Till few decades back, the fundamental dimension for money in India was called as anas, and this was equivalent to Rs. 0.5 as the fundamental measure. Thus a poetry is an idol in oral form, and a building is a frozen music. A poet, by the weight of his mental frequency, has first become the poem itself, and then the actual poem was created in its oral form, and an artist by the same frequency has become the idol first, and then he gave a shape to the idol externally through this. Hands. This is very beautifully given as Rasopai Saha, so by Razakaha, which means he, God, is the enjoyer and he is the artist. All of this reflects the supreme philosophy that oneness in all and everything is just a manifestation of that one thing. Now in this light understand the meaning of this Upanishad prayer. Adum Purnamada Purnamadam Purnat Purnam Udakit Purnajya Purnat Madhya Purnamadhyavosasik. This means God is perfect infinite. This universe is also perfect infinite. If perfection infinity is taken from anything perfect infinite, what remains is still perfect infinite. Isn't this is the actual reality today? Everything scientific is philosophically, mythological and ritually well interwoven. That proves that Sanatana Dharma is the most ancient and supreme representation of science and nature's secret in our possession. Our temple worship, which integrates all this science, 5 sacred arts with language and math, is the standing example of our understanding of the nature of God. It is the same sugar cane, but an elephant eats it from the field directly. A young adult peels the skin off and chews it. If a kid has to eat, then someone has to peel the skin and cut it into pieces, and an old man without teeth needs it to be made as sugar cane juice. Depending on one's ability to chew and digest the food has to be processed. Same way, depending on one's mental ability to grasp the supreme truth, it has to be processed and presented. If someone is mentally well evolved, then they can be fed with Upanishads and he can meditate on the formless Brahman. To a young adult, Upanishads may not be palatable directly, but they may have to start with Vedas and Vedangas to mature to a higher level. For the less evolved kids, Itihasaya and Purana like Ramayana and Mahabharata with stories may drive home the point, and they can start with shlokas and mantras. But for the least evolved, it has to start with a personal deity with name and form, bhajans and songs to invoke the concept of bhakti. In all the 4 cases, temple culture forms the lowest common denominator. Even the most evolved relish the arts and architecture in the temples. We should be proud of our rich cultural and scientific heritage and be passionate about the science and philosophy and be rational about rituals and symbolisms. Image/idol worship is not deplorable or despicable. This is the highest scientific form of worship which enables us to see face to face the one which is beyond reach of sight and speech. This kindles devotion, community development and helps one to climb the steep walls of spirituality in the initial stages. Every religion in this world has some image or idol as symbolism to achieve this objective. An idol is a god in form when made with the science of divine proportion and seasoned material is the highest product of our intelligence till today. It should however be noted that this idol worship should not be lost in the din of rituals which does not reflect the very philosophy it had come to symbolize. So the advice I follow is be passionate about our culture but be rational about the rituals. The advancement of science can progress rapidly when the Western scientists who are objective and empirical partner with the pundits in India and learn the science of the subtle from our scriptures and temples. For this to happen we need to learn our own scriptures and past, which is not possible without learning our mother tongue and Sanskrit. Else in the near future we may have to import knowledge of our culture and reach past from the Western world. Mayan and Mahayuni Mayan was the father-in-law of demon king Ravana and is referred in both Mahabharata and Ramayana. He is attributed with building the palace for Yudhishthira in Indraprastha and also the architect for Sri Lanka which Ravana ruled. His son Nalan helped Lord Rama build the Rail through the bridge between India and Sri Lanka. He is believed to have lived in the island Iridesam, popularly known as Lemuria continent, Kumarakandam, which spanned 4,500 plus km from Sri Lanka to Antarctica, connecting current Australia, Africa and America. Understandably, when this landmass was consumed by the sea, their clan moved to different parts of the world including Guatemala, Egypt, and to current South Indian region. The most ancient treatise on astronomy is a treatise authored by Mayan. It is called the Surya Siddhanta. Included in this treatise are the following the chapter topics following: the motions, the places of the planets, direction, place and time, the moon and eclipses, the sun and eclipse, the projection of eclipses, planetary conjunction of the star risings and setting, the moon's risings and settings, certain malignant aspects of the sun, cosmogony, the gnomon, the movement of the heavens and human activity. Figure 49, Mamumi Mayan. Mayan is also attributed with the start and spread of temple culture in India. The song below in Tamil states that since Mayan sat under the banyan tree and taught this science of universe and also of sacred arts, so that every town was endowed with temples for social betterment. Because he was from the southern region and also he sat under the banyan tree, he is also equated with Lord Dakshinamurti. The Mayan says in his Pranaya, Om light and Om sound are the primal source of all manifest forms. Om light is aroused by its own effort in a state of disorder and appears as a flame. The state of Om light and Om sound in space is a magnificent luminous six-faced light form that is called Murukali. The transformation of Om light and Om sound through the 5 stages is concealed in the fivefold knowledge, of which this is the first. This process of transformation of disorderly Om light and Om sound into orderliness is found in all fivefold material forms. Sage Veda Vyasa says in the Bhagavatam, Iti Evya Puravido Pranavaya Sarvathangi Amaha 9th Skandha, 14th chapter, Sloka 48 of Bhagavatam. This means that there was only one Veda called Pranaya Veda. It is believed that sage Vyasa created 4 Vedas from this Veda since he believed that the oncoming generations would not have the mental strength to master everything. Blank. Mayan is also attributed with the start and spread of temple culture in India. The song below in figure 50, aerial view of Sri Rangam temple with 7 prakaras. There exists an order in the universe, subtle universe, and material universe. This power is attributed to the consciousness of the cosmic space as well as of the inner space of the animate beings. This consciousness, by its personal effort to express its own inner feelings, causes the kind of vibration or pulsation in the inner space, resulting in energy grids. The vibration or pulsation, being the causal element of all these events, is called Kaala. This is actually the force of energy aroused by the inner consciousness, causing waves and contributing to the growth of living forms. This Kaala resides in all living beings. So, space is the offshoot of the vibration of the primordial energy. This is how the space was born. All forms of nature are manifest forms of subtle energy. For all to get manifested, the force is Kaalam. This waveform frequency realm is the creative element of the universe. There is no other treatise that we have in our possession today which is dated 10,000 BC that depicts the secret of nature so explicitly and gives the unmanifest interconnections and mathematical proportions between everything in the universe. As drive fanaticize the Paddy Ruse, unfortunately most of the Tamil experts don't understand the science in these texts and hence these books are idling without anyone extracting the truths from it. In the next few generations, when we are less equipped in our own mother tongue, we may lose this treasure completely just like the many we have lost so far. Hence the first step we need to ensure is even if you are not equipped well in your mother tongue, please make sure that your kids can read and write it well. This becomes our most important duty. And I find it worrisome when someone is indifferent to the fact that they can understand their mother tongue but cannot read and write. With some significant efforts we can and we should prove that this man who said, Indians are the most ignorant about their rich past and scientific traditions, is not wise anymore. Conclusion. What I have understood in a nutshell is as follows. The inner being of both the individual and the universe is luminescent consciousness which has the ability to become aware of it. This luminescent consciousness is called by various names but it is essentially the only existent Vastu in this world. This Vastu manifests itself as time, space and spatial forms, Adryanyan Mahato Mahiyan. This means what is in the atom is the same makes up the universe. That which is present in the atom is the space energy and the meaning of the word akaza is stated as aakashaita. That which imparts light to others or make others shine is called akaza. This means that space vastu is luminescent. I am stressing the aspect of luminescent again and again for you to start perceiving God as light. Pranavya is the causal element which triggers this evolution process and this manifests as visual and oral forms. Pranay results in the primordial pulsation and this pulsation is triggered and sustained by a divine progression and proportion which is called absolute time. Absolute time creates absolute space. These four things absolute time, absolute space, oral pranava and visual pranavya combine together to form spatial forms and hence this universe. The vastu as God's particle, its characteristics, the pranava, the pulsation, the rhythm, the progression, its proportion and the resultant energy states all the scientific facts. Theories and processes are captured and codified as a dharma which is called as Hinduism today. The science behind this subtle energy is reflected in various art forms that includes poetry, classical music, dance, sculpture and building architecture. All these manifestations are harmonics of 5 and 8 differentiated by the golden proportion/God's ratio to reflect the various states of consciousness. This intrinsic order is called dharma and the cyclic nature of this evolution is the karmic code embedded in the universe. Nothing in this universe is superior to the dharma and karmic code. The divinity manifests in us and the space within us is nothing different from the macrocosm. Consciousness which exhibits itself as a state of being because of our mental vibration can evolve to a higher plane to devolve back into the luminescent core. Sanatana Dharma, popularly today known as Hinduism, is the repository of this supreme secret not just as a philosophy but integrated with every stage of our life. This can be understood better only if we can give due respect and attention to the language and scriptures. our spiritual tradition interwoven with arts and architecture that contains these treasures. The temple culture and idol worship that we have symbolizes the best of science known to human beings, and we need to understand this and preserve this in the best possible manner. She is the goddess of speech, music and knowledge. She carries the rosary beads. Akshamala represents the alphabets of a language, Sanskrit the musical instrument Veena, and Vedas as palm leaf manuscript in her hands that denotes the knowledge. Thus we can see that idol worship signifies deeper scientific aspects of a common root between language, music, knowledge and arts. I shall end this book with some of my favorite quotes of Dr. Einstein. Details. We are able. My religion consists of a humble admiration of the illimitable superior spirit who reveals himself in the slight details. We are able to perceive with our frail and feeble mind that deep emotional conviction, the presence, a superior reasoning power, which is revealed universe. Thousandth.